this meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals to order. First item of business will be roll call. So Eric. Just a reminder, we are being recorded, so please hit the button on your mic. Let me see. Cicely.
Here.
Ron.
Here.
Mark.
Here.
Kendra.
Here.
And Miss Freddie.
Here.
Also, we have our plant codes official, Rosalie. Our assistant, Joanne Hampton. And our zoning, what is your title?
Planning advisor.
Planning advisor, Amanda Harrington. So we do have a quorum. So the next item of on the business in your packet, you should have minutes from the last meeting.
Let's see.
So if you want to take just a minute to take a look at those. I entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Freddie. Second.
Second.
Second by Mark. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Minutes stand approved. All right. Next item of business then is the agenda. Any additions or corrections to the agenda? Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Cicely, second.
Second.
Second by Ron. We have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. That was a miss nay, I think. Motion carries. Agenda approved. Okay, next item on the business on the agenda then is public hearing. So if anyone has comments and they're signed up, you do have to be signed up if you intend to speak. But if anybody has something they want to talk about, now is your time. Please step up. We are being recorded, so please use the mic.
Hello, committee. My name is Carolyn Wright. I live at 980 Providence Road in Trousdale County, although my address is Lebanon. My concern here is some mobile homes that it's been placed in this area. And I have approached this many times with Rosalie Mahan. And I am concerned because I do not feel like that this man is living up to the codes. He is placing rental trailers on this property. And we have already in our, when we bought our property, we signed an agreement that there would not be any mobile homes constructed in that area to cause the depreciation of our land. And also, we don't have any say-so over who he's going to be renting these trailers to. So I have a real problem when this county allows this man to violate zoning, because right now he's zoned A1. And he has already got 2 trailers up there. And as of 7-Eleven, he has cut a driveway directly across from mine with the intention of placing another trailer. So I really want to know how this county can allow someone to move these mobile homes in on A1 zoning, and we don't have any recourse because we haven't been notified. We have not been, he's not rezoned it, which it should be rezoned. And we have not even been notified. I would like to introduce Mr. Dennis Odom to the podium. And I would ask him to come up here and explain to everyone in this room. I want him to explain to the people here exactly what is going on there. And I think he can do a better job than I can. Mr. Odom, would you please come up?
I have not.
Would you please?
I would.
I'm assuming because this wasn't on the agenda that it wasn't actually brought as a request for us to review. Okay.
Yes, I think,
No, I don't think it ever came in front of us. You know, we're variances, special exemptions, and usually if somebody thinks they've been denied a permit,
yeah,
that's usually when we come into play. So I'm not real sure that our jurisdiction is going to do you much good here, but we welcome your public comments.
okay. I'm James Odom. I have property adjacent to Carolyn, who just spoke. I am also across the street from what appears to be, to us, a mobile home park going into place. It is zoned A1, the track directly across the street from my looking at the online property information appears to be an 8-acre tract. It's on map 43, 4.01. He's also the owner of 4.0, which has 147 acres. So in my looking at it, if he's looking where he's putting these on this 8-acre tract, if I look at agriculture and I look at Article 3 where it's one building, and with the exception to A1, where they could add 2 mobile homes. So he's already added 2. He's got more now, but those were also appear to be for family and farm workers, and these appear to be rental properties. So we're concerned, you know, that he's effectively doing a mobile home park. And he's got white stakes staked off for more, and it keeps going on and on. And like Carolyn said, there are 3 tracks across the street that when we purchased these property, and I purchased mine in 2012, that we put property restrictions on our warranty deeds for no mobile home park. So you can see the community's concern about the land use in this area. So all I'm asking for is for this board to look at and see should it be rezoned such that we would have a public voice and get to voice, you know, our opinion of the land use. And so I think that's all I have to add to it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. Of course, rezoning goes in front of planning and zoning, and they'll meet after us. So We don't, this board does not handle rezoning requests. Anybody else that's on the list that's got anything they'd like to say? Okay. Moving on then to the next item on the agenda, which is old business. Any old business? I don't believe there is. New business. I don't think there's any new business. So Rosalie, I guess I'll turn it over to whoever's in charge of our training session. Is that you?
Nope, it's Miss Rosalie.
Miss Rosalie, okay.
Along subject matter expert. We could go ahead and have the microphone turned off, please. So thank you for being here this evening. We are going to be doing some training dealing with permitting, also the zoning in our county, land uses, which is a little bit different than the zoning, and I'll have you know how that comes into play, and then the county ordinances. Now, if you would, go ahead on your training packet, go ahead and take like the last 3 pages and pull those out. What you have here is a copy of the old building permit, and it's the same information that now goes into the permitting software. And I also have a little training aid as well, so that when people come in and they want a building permit, this is the information that we have to have in order before we can even issue a building permit whatsoever. And then the first item is a recorded warranty deed to the property. So we have to verify that whoever is coming to get a building permit, either they are the property owner or they have permission from the property owner to obtain a building permit, such as sometimes contractors come and get the building permit for the property owner. So we have to verify everything, and we look at the warranty deed, you know, what is happening there and things of that nature. The next item is that we have to look at, okay, are they in the city or are they in the county? Now, in the county, there is not sewer in the county, so to speak. In most of the areas, they all have to have septic systems. So we have to verify that they have obtained a septic permit from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. And we have to verify that, yes, they have soils area there. TDEC would have done that, and they would also put on their septic letter to us the number of bedrooms that that soil will be able to support. And if they're trying to get a building permit for more bedrooms than what their soils will have, well, we can't issue the building permit. They have to come back or modify their building permit for what they want. And then the site plan. So all of these different type of information we have to have before we can do a building permit. Now, one of the things that we look at is zoning. And everyone's been given a copy of the zoning map that was creating in 2020. And you see all the different colors that are on this zoning map. Now, this zoning map takes into account not only the county, but also the city limits. The city limits can be seen by the dark red border around the center of the county. Anything that's in the dark red border, well, that will have sewer access. Anything that's not in the dark red is out in the county. And just like we said, what do they need to have if they want to build? A septic system. So going and looking at where are they in the county, the white indicates, and here's the legend right here, the white indicates that it's zoned A1. The yellow indicates, the light yellow indicates it's zoned R1. Out in the county, the dark yellow is R2. Then the light purple is M1, which is like the light industrial. C1, which is commercial, is there with the dark red. Now, if you have any questions at any time, please don't hesitate to stop me and ask the question. And then you've got the dark purple, which is the heavy industrial. And if you see in our county, there's only just a few places that have the dark purple, which is the heavy industrial. And mostly you'll find that out there at the PowerCon site, the industrial park. Okay? Any questions so far? Mr. Chair?
Well, we're kind of closed comments, but I'll allow it. But once again, you'll have to go to the mic.
Ms. Mahan, I would like to ask you, I came to your office and I asked you specifically, when someone comes and applies for a permit for anything, especially if they're thinking about or comprehending erecting a rental mobile home park, what are the requirements and what do you ask this person? I asked you specifically. If you ask him, do you have a diagram? Do you have a plan? Have you drawn up anything concerning the highest use of your land? And you told me you did not. So I asked you again, why was these permits passed to him like you were handing out candy and you didn't ask him anything? And I would like to know how someone can continue to put mobile homes up on an A1 zoning, because that's unheard of.
So when Mr. Waller came in to get a building permit, it's on an A1 piece of property. I know TN Property Viewer shows that it's 8 acres. It's not. It was just resurveyed. TN Property Viewer does not have accurate property lines, nor does it show accurate acreages. And so if there's any doubt, I request a survey and a plat. So he has 14 acres that was divided into 2 parcels of land. 1 parcel of land, and it's in our ordinances, and the ordinances are our guidebook. They're our rule book for the county, and that's what I have to follow. He is putting 1 mobile home on 1 parcel of land. That does not constitute a mobile home park. So he was allowed to have a building permit because he had all of this information. Now, if anybody tries to put more than 1 mobile home on a piece of 1 parcel of land, as you were saying, and what Mr. Oldham was saying, indicated that he would have like a green belt tax exemption for farm credit, which would be 15 acres, and they would be allowed to add 2 additional homes, 2 structures on the piece of property, provided that it's immediate family or farm workers.
Can
So
you,
that is not what happened in this instance whatsoever.
well, can you explain to me why this property has already been surveyed off and it actually looks like there's going to be 4 or 5 more trailers put exactly on this property that we're speaking of? And I'll tell you another thing too. On 7-11, just recently, a few days ago, Mr. Waller was so spiteful that he decided that he was going to come across in front of my driveway and cut another driveway to indicate to me that he was going to put another trailer up there no matter what anybody said. So I still want to know why somebody can put up a rental trailer park on a A1 zoning. And that doesn't really explain a whole lot to me. And I don't think it does to any of these people that are sitting here that owns property in that area. And I would like to welcome any of them to come up and say anything about it. And I think it's about time somebody said something. We can't just helter-skelter let somebody come in and put whatever they want to up just because they own some land. You know what? I own some land directly across from Ward Hill Road and Providence Road, and I've been thinking about putting up a beer joint and a whorehouse. So if that's the case and you can do anything you want to on your land, then I guess I can do that, can't I? And I would welcome anyone else to come up and speak.
So please turn the mic off. And thank you. We did ask and give everybody an opportunity if they wanted to speak, and nobody else took it. So I thank you for your comments.
So with the A1 piece of property, you can divide your property into lots, and depending on the size of the lots, I don't even get notification. If it's greater than 5 acres, my office is not notified, nor is the Register of Deeds until they actually go and get a building permit. So it didn't have to be rezoned in order to have a mobile home, and we're going to be covering that in our ordinance as well. They're allowed to have an A1 zone. You're allowed to have different structures on your property, and a mobile home is one of them in A1 out in the county. In R1, a single wide mobile home is not allowed. In R2, a single wide mobile home is not allowed. And that's in our county ordinances, which are the rules and the laws that the county commission voted in. So if you would like to voice your concerns, you can contact your county commissioners and have them start looking into, okay, what do we need to do in order to make this what our constituents want? So you're welcome to do that.
I have a question. On the map, it shows that the larger map shows the dark purple for the city, and then on the little blown up section for Hartsville, it's turned to light purple. Which one is it?
So, and it's an excellent question. So what's in the city, they have different colors for. So there's going to be different zones. For instance, you don't have an M1 and an M2 in the city, but you have an I1. And so what you're referencing is I1 industrial. Absolutely. Okay, so getting on to land uses. Now, and this is going to be very important for the Board of Zoning Appeals, because what happens with the land use? So you look at what is the zone? Okay, what is allowed in this zone? Now, you can look through the ordinances and see all the different uses. And in fact, I've included a lot of them in your packet where, for instance, A1, it has uses permitted. So there's agricultural services, there's crop and animal raising, which makes sense, it's agriculture. Forestry activities, related services, including nurseries. Detached dwellings, and that's item number 4. It says single family, 2-family, mobile home. Essential services, which are basically the electrical and gas substations, electric, gas, water, and sewer distribution and collection lines, pumping facilities for water and sewer distribution, right-of-way for transportation modes, telephone switching facilities, fisheries and related services, and outdoor shooting ranges. It also has accessory uses. And then, just as Mr. Knutson had said, uses permitted as special exceptions. Now, when there is a special exception requested, that has to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals. They have to file an application to come and speak before you and tell you exactly what they plan on doing. A lot of times they'll have to submit a site plan to you. making sure that they meet all the different setbacks and everything. So for uses permitted as special exception, administrative services, community assembly, community education, art galleries, bed and breakfast. I know that there have been one or two of those come through the Board of Zoning Appeals and get approval for. Don't we wish there was a golf course that would come to Trousdale as a special exception? And then water storage facilities, telecommunication, you guys have heard several different towers, communication towers come through. So there's a lot of different things that could be used as a use in A1. Now, what I have for you is the land use charts, which makes it a lot easier for you to see, well, what is permitted and how these land use charts, and these are definitely found in our ordinances. Well, how are these land use charts used? You look at, okay, what type of use is it? Is it residential? Is it community facilities? Is it commercial? And you'll see across the top here, it has the different zones. A1 is first, R1 is next, R2, C1, M1, and M2. And then down here along the left side of the paper, it talks about, okay, so daycare centers of any type. If you look at daycare centers of any type, it's listed it as a commercial use. Is it allowed in any of the zones? Well, M1 industrial, and then is that a P for permitted? SE, so that means a special exception. So they would have to come before you guys and show that they meet everything. Now, and it goes on and on, all the different uses for this. So, and if you read in the ordinance here, it talks about the Board of Zoning Appeals. And it said they may determine that the proposed land use, for instance, what if somebody comes up with a great idea that they want to use for their property, but it's not on this list? They don't really have it on here. So the Board of Zoning Appeals can look at what they're doing. They can explain it. You guys look at the land use chart, and is it similar to what's in the land use? Is it the same type of intent as what the land use chart is saying? For you to consider whether or not to allow that as a special exception.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
So it seems like the daycare centers of any type is only available for an industrial and the general industrial, but is that only inside the county and not necessarily inside the city?
Excellent question. So what I've given you are the land use charts just for Trousdale County. Now, Hartsville and the city ordinance, they have their own land use chart. So you would have to go and get the Hartsville ordinance and look for the land use chart dealing with the city limits and look at what zones it would be allowed in that respect. Now, I will tell you this, that the Codes and Zoning Committee has been working diligently on trying to combine both the county and the city ordinance to make it a cohesive document. And let me tell you, it has definitely been a labor of love. It has been very, very difficult to try to mesh the county with the city because some things are very, very different. For instance, if you have a septic system, it's going to take up a lot of your property, and so your setbacks need to be adjusted. So you should be seeing something very soon. We've got a document put together, and it's going through the proofreading process and making sure that everything is meshing right. We've worked diligently with Rick Gregory, who was the planning consultant for Trousdale County for many, many years. and helped do a lot of the different ordinances with us. And so that's soon to be coming out. And once that does, it'll go before the county commission and they will start to evaluate, is this meeting what we need it to do? So hopefully that's going to get a lot easier for the Board of Zoning Appeals to be able to look at what's permitted and what's a special exception and how does that fit. So going to the next one, we've looked at A1. Does anyone have any other questions about A1? So also with permitting, we have to look at the setbacks. I mentioned that just a few minutes ago. For an A1 piece of property, you'll find that the minimum lot size, and I believe I gave you that as well. That's part of your, yeah, there we go. The typical building setbacks for Trousdale County. So this is like a quick chart, one of those easy, okay, let's try to get all the information together, because can you imagine trying to look through all of the ordinances for the various zones and trying to find the setbacks for various structures? So it says typical, and it was one of the last three pages that we pulled out. We had the building permit and then we had the setbacks there. It shows that the minimum lot size for an A1 piece of property that's allowed is 2 acres, but that's only allowed if they've got public water and they've got fire protection. And fire protection is defined as having a fire hydrant within 500 feet of the property. And that fire hydrant has to have significant water flow in order to be able to be effective as far as if there's a fire or anything, they can put out the fire. And that's like 500 gallons per minute that fire hydrant needs to have. So they can have a 2-acre lot if that is available. If not, then the minimum lot size is 3 acres with public water. And then if they don't have public water, then it's 4 acres. And then there's the various setbacks there. And if you notice over here on the left, you're only allowed to cover so much of your property with structures. So an A1 piece of property, you're only allowed to cover 20% of your property in, say, a residence, a garage, a barn, a greenhouse, she shed, things of that nature. You're only allowed to cover up to 20%. And then there's different setbacks for what they would call an accessory structure. An accessory structure means that it's not the principal building. It's not the principal residence. And then if you look further on down, you'll see that R1 is different. You're allowed to have 1 acre piece of property. R2, you can even go smaller, and you're allowed different items. So there's a lot to consider when somebody walks in the building saying that they want a building permit. So going to R1, and R1 is the minimum residential. So typically that is just one structure, one living structure on the piece of property. You are restricted to 1 acre. And you have different uses on there as well. So as you go through there, what is the most interesting R1 use that you see that's listed in our ordinance? Pardon? A duplex, isn't that interesting? So on an R1 piece of property, you can do a single family resident, you can do a duplex building, but a single wide mobile home you're not allowed to have. So now you've got, again, and if you notice, when you start looking through all the different zones, you'll find that every zone is allowed to have some sort of utility on their piece of property. That is an allowed use. That means they don't have to come to the Board of Zoning Appeals to get permission for a utility. Now, the special exceptions, again, you've got the administrative services, fire department facilities, post offices, police departments, community assemblies, the art galleries again. And then also as a special exception are the religious facilities, chapels, churches. And then if you notice down at the bottom, right below that, use is prohibited. So if there's not a use, like on your land use chart or in our ordinance there that says that is either an allowed use or a special exception, then it's a prohibited use. You're not allowed to have that. Any questions about R1? Now, if you notice, how much did we say that on an A1 piece of property that you can cover up? The max coverage? So what's the max coverage on an R1?
40.
Isn't that interesting? I just, now, why? I don't know, but that's what they have in our ordinance. Okay, so moving on to an R2 residential district. Now, it is for, zoned for single family as well as multifamily residences. Now, we've talked about how it's different in the city limits. So multifamily residences in the city limits, that is the zone for R3. That's where you see a lot of townhomes together, apartments, things of that nature. But out here in the county, there is not an R3 zone. All you have is an R2. So you're allowed single-family residence in an R2, but you're also allowed multifamily residence in R2. Now, if someone were to bring a request for a building permit for a multifamily development out in the county and it's zoned R2, the thing that's really going to be in question is, okay, do you have the septic approval from TDEC, the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, that will accommodate the type of development that you want to do? Because if they don't have that, then a building permit will not be issued. Now, I will tell you this too, something of that nature will absolutely have to go before Planning Commission, because if they're going to have multifamily, they'll have to have a site plan and take that to the Planning Commission and have them approve that. And that's one of the things that when Amanda starts looking at the site plan, do you not consider, do they have adequate utilities and facilities? So, hopefully it will not come to the Board of Zoning Appeals without having that information there. So in looking at the R2 and what is an allowed use on the R2 piece of property, does any of this sound familiar? All the utilities again, the electrical and the gas substation. But then, that's it. Then you've got your accessory uses, and then it starts going into the special exceptions. So there's not a lot other than residential dwellings and essential services that are allowed on an R2 piece of property. Now, R2, the use is permitted. You've got the single family dwellings. We talked about that. We talked about duplex dwellings, the multifamily dwellings and the apartment dwellings. You've got rooming and boarding homes. and then the essential services. And then you get down to the special exceptions for R2. So R2 residential, a special exception. And what happens with a special exception? Who approves those? You do. So item number 1 under R2 residential is the mobile home park. And our ordinances has specific guidelines for anything of that nature. And you have to have so much dimensions, so many feet, so much yard. That would definitely have to have a site plan. But it would come to you guys first for it to say, yes, that is an allowed use for that piece of property. And then they would have to go to the planning commission. If you guys say that it's allowed, they would have to go to the planning commission with a site plan, meeting all of those items in order to be able to do that. Okay, the next special exception again, administrative services, community assembly. So all of these things that were special exceptions on the others, you've got them here as well. Now, with an R2 piece of property, if you look at your little chart there, the lot sizes are a lot smaller. So 1 dwelling per acre, very similar to an R1, but then you're allowed, you could do 2 dwellings on 40,000 square feet. Right? Now, the max lot coverage on an R2 piece of property, what is that? 40 again. And then, let's see, anything else different? Actually, the setbacks both on R1 and R2 are the same. So on the front of the property line, back to the start of the structure, it's 30 feet. From the sides of the property line on each side, it's 15 feet. And then from the rear of the property line, it's 25 feet. Now, the width of the property at the building setback, so where the building is going to be placed, it has to be at least 100 feet. And again, an R2 piece of property cannot have a single wide trailer. God bless you. Okay, and then the last zone that we're going to be looking at this evening is the C1. Now, C1 out in the county is very unique. If you look at the zoning map, in the city limits, how many commercial zones do you have in the city limits? What'd you say, Mark? Oh, did. Yes, sir. And if you'll speak into the mic, please.
2,
Absolutely. And those are what, please?
C1, C2.
Yes, sir. C1 and C2. Now, what's interesting is that C1 here in the city limits is really basically the property surrounding the courthouse, so surrounding the downtown area. So not only does it allow for commercial enterprise, but it also allows for residential use. So you can live on a C1 piece of property and also have a little business on there, okay? Now, C2 here in the city limits is basically called highway commercial. And you will find that along the state roads here in the county, here in the city limits. For instance, Church Street here, as well as up Broadway, a lot of that is zoned C2. Along McMurray Boulevard, Highway 25 West and Highway 25 East, you'll find C2 highway commercial because you have a lot of traffic going there and it just lends itself for development. Okay, now in Trousdale County, we only have one commercial zone, that is zone C1, and that does also lend itself for residential use as well as commercial use. We have a RV park that was approved by you guys and then went before planning and is now in operation. It is in a C1 zone up there on Highway 231 and Highway 25. So it lent itself, it was zoned properly, and it was approved, and it is now an active business. Okay? Any questions about C1?
Is there not one to the northeast, a small one?
So on Highway 10, you've got a dark red, and I know, believe me, the zoning map is very difficult to find what street is what, and I have to cross-reference it to the TN property viewer, because at least the TN property viewer tells you what's the street name. But there is a tiny red dot here.
Oh, okay.
I know, tiny, but it's valid, right? So it is a C1 piece of property. Now, exactly which one that is, I believe that is Hartsville Cabinets. Hartsville Cabinets. Okay,
What about on Highway 10 where that mechanic shop is?
wait, what? There's a what shop?
Mechanic shop? It's like when you turn Fort Blunt.
So now, this zoning map that you have in front of you, the date on it is 2020. And there's been a lot of rezones that have not been updated on this zoning map. That will be corrected, especially with this new permitting software. And with the addition of Joanne, our new office manager, a lot of that is going to be input into the GIS. And so we're going to be able to have an accurate zoning map so that people will be able to see what is zoned what. So, but yes. All right. So
Meaning yes to what? How is it? His question?
yes, as in, we are going to be getting this zoning map updated, and it's going to be a viable tool to be able to use, and you're going to be able to look at it and see what is located and what is zoned properly.
Mm.
Right? So what questions might you have about land use, zoning, and the permitting process thus far? Was there anything that you learned tonight that you didn't know prior? So you guys all want a job in the building office, right? Doing building permits? We could use the help, couldn't we, Joanne?
Y'all need a raise.
All right, well, thank you so much. And this is your training for this evening, and next month we'll have something different.
Yeah, thanks. Next thing is report from the chairman. Chairman has nothing. Report from the building official. I assume things have really slowed down and
Well, we do have a copy of the planning agenda available that you'll be able to see that, no, it has not slowed down. Thank you so much.
other than that, I have no closing remarks. Anybody on the board have any closing remarks they'd like to make? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Miss Freddie, second.
Seconded.
seconded by Sicily. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.